Happiness is a choice, not a condition. This is one of the hardest truths to accept when life is throwing its worst at you. Most people believe they'll be happy when they get the job, when the debt is paid off, when the relationship heals, or when the pain finally goes away. But real happiness doesn't wait for the storm to pass. It doesn't depend on everything lining up perfectly. It's not some reward that appears after you've solved every problem. It's a mindset. It's a decision you make even when things are going wrong. Life doesn't come with guarantees, and it certainly doesn't come with fairness. You might work hard and still lose. You might love deeply and still get hurt. You might give your all and get nothing back. But in the middle of all that, you still have a choice. To suffer mentally and emotionally, or to look inside and say, I'm not going to let this destroy me. That's where happiness starts. It's not about smiling because life is good. It's about smiling because you're choosing to see the good even when life is hard. It's about controlling what you can, your attitude, your energy, your reaction. You can't always control the events, but you can control what those events do to your spirit. That is power. That is freedom. When you make happiness a decision instead of a result, you stop giving your peace away to other people. You stop making your joy depend on their actions, their opinions, or the circumstances around you. Think about how many times you've said to yourself, I'll be happy when, and filled in the blank with something external. Maybe it's more money, maybe it's success, maybe it's someone finally recognizing your worth. But what if that when never comes? What if life keeps delaying that moment? Then what? Do you just stay sad, stay angry, stay hopeless? That's no way to live. The truth is, people who are truly happy have learned how to find joy without needing permission from life. They don't wait for perfect days. They create peaceful moments in imperfect days. They walk into chaos and still manage to carry calm. That's not magic, that's discipline. That's the result of a repeated, conscious choice to not let pain have the last word. You also need to realize that choosing happiness doesn't mean you ignore reality. It doesn't mean you pretending things aren't bad. It means you're refusing to let those things control your entire being. It's like standing in the rain without denying it's raining, but still dancing anyway. When you choose happiness, you start noticing the small things, the smell of coffee in the morning, the sound of someone laughing, the way sunlight hits your skin. These are things that are always there, but we miss them when we're too focused on everything that's wrong. That's why the most powerful people aren't the ones who have everything figured out. They're the ones who can still see the beauty in broken places. They can sit in sadness without becoming bitter, and they can stand in difficulty without giving up. That strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from choosing over and over to push through pain with purpose. It comes from waking up and saying, this day might not be easy, but I'm still going to make something out of it. That's how you build happiness. Brick by brick, decision by decision. It's not a destination you arrive at. It's a road you walk, even when it's uphill. Life will test you, but struggle is not a full stop. It's a comma. You keep writing your story. This is one of those truths that doesn't hit you until life knocks you down flat. Struggles can make you feel like the story is over, like the world has closed in around you and there's nothing left to give. But what we forget in those dark moments is that struggle isn't the end. It's a pause. It's a turning point, not the conclusion. Just like a comma in a sentence means there's more to come, your hardship is just a pause, before the next part of your journey. Sometimes the pressure, the setback, the delay, it all feels like failure. But it's not failure unless you stop moving. You can cry, you can bleed, you can fall apart for a moment, but as long as you get back up, you are still in the process. And that process is still writing a story that hasn't reached its climax yet. You're not done. You're developing. There's this illusion that successful people live a life without struggle, like they just jumped over the pain and landed in joy. But every strong person has had their breaking point. What made the difference wasn't the absence of struggle, it was how they responded to it. They didn't put a period where life tried to place one. They kept writing, they kept fighting, they kept growing. Sometimes you've got to rewrite your story mid-chapter. Sometimes a dream has to change. Sometimes you lose people, lose plans, lose direction, but you don't lose your ability to move forward. Even if you're crawling, even if you're broken, that comma in your life means the page is not done turning. It means there's still more strength in you than you thought. There's still another version of you that hasn't even been born yet. One who's wiser, tougher, more compassionate, more powerful because of what you're walking through right now. When you shift your mindset from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me, your whole world starts to change. Struggles start looking like teachers instead of enemies. Obstacles start looking like opportunities for growth instead of roadblocks. That doesn't mean the pain disappears. It means you stop letting the pain define the story. It means you take control of the pen again and say, this may be part of my story, but it won't be the whole story. Think about how many people you admired. Most of them didn't get there because everything was easy. They got there because they kept walking through fire and didn't let the fire consume them. They learned to bend, but not break. They let life shape them, not shatter them. You also need to understand that healing is not instant. Progress is not always visible. Sometimes the most powerful moment in your life is when you decide to try again when everything in you wants to give up. Sometimes it's in that small, quiet decision to keep going that the next chapter begins. That's the comma. That moment where you pause, gather yourself, take a breath, and then step into the next sentence stronger than before. Life will keep throwing things at you. It will test your patience, your faith, your courage, your ability to believe. But that's the thing about stories. They don't become great without some conflict. Your story is being written with every choice you make. Every hardship you face, every time you keep going despite the pain. Struggle is not your end. It's the place where your strength is being born. Gratitude is your power tool. Being thankful in the dark opens the door to the light. This truth might seem simple, but it holds deep power, especially when you're going through something tough. Life has a way of overwhelming us with problems, setbacks, and disappointment. In those moments, our minds naturally zoom in on what's wrong. We obsess over what we lost, what didn't happen, or what's broken. But what if, in the middle of that darkness, you stopped for a moment and said, thank you. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're still here, still breathing, still capable of finding one small thing that's good. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. And that simple shift can change your entire state of mind. When you begin to practice gratitude daily, even during the worst times, you unlock a power most people don't even know they have. You gain control of your emotions. You stop allowing negativity to flood your system and paralyze your perspective. Gratitude gives you mental space to breathe, to think, and to see beyond the current struggle. It's a lens that brings clarity where there's confusion. It shows you that even though you might be hurt, you're not helpless. Even though you might be struggling, you're not without value. Being thankful doesn't mean you pretending everything's okay. It means you choosing to honor what is still okay, what is still working, even in the storm. You see, the more you focus on what's missing, the bigger the emptiness feels. But when you focus on what's present, no matter how small, you start filling your spirit back up. You may have lost a job, but you still have your skill. You may be heartbroken, but you still have love to give. You may be down, but you're not out. That's gratitude at work. It's the voice inside you that says, this hurts, but I'm still thankful for what's left. And every time you listen to that voice, you're building resilience. You're training your mind to search for light instead of giving in to the dark. Gratitude is also contagious. It changes not only your own attitude, but the energy you bring into every room. When people see you smiling through difficulty, thankful through discomfort, they feel that. They get inspired by that. It shows them what's possible. That's why grateful people often have deeper relationships and stronger connections. They're not just radiating positivity, they're reminding everyone around them of their own reasons to hope. And when you start living from a place of thanks, you stop taking things for granted. The little things, the sunrise, a kind word, your health, your ability to try again, they stop being background noise. They become the fuel that keeps you moving. Many people wait for big miracles to be thankful. They want the promotion, the healing, the breakthrough, but the real miracle is waking up and finding something to smile about before any of that arrives. It's about choosing joy even when nothing big has changed, because gratitude trains your heart to see beauty where others see nothing. And once you learn to be thankful in the darkness can't scare you the same way anymore. You become stronger, more grounded, and more in control of your emotions. It becomes less about waiting for better days and more about building strength within the day you have. Gratitude isn't passive. It's a powerful act of rebellion against despair. It tells the world you're not giving up, that you still see meaning and value even when the world feels upside down. Your mindset is your steering wheel. If you think forward, you move forward. The way you think shapes the way you live, act, and respond to everything that happens in your life. Most people don't realize just how much power their thoughts carry. If your mind is filled with doubt, fear, or negativity, you start seeing the world through a lens that keeps you stuck. But if you train your mind to look for growth, hope, and possibility, you start seeing paths even in places that look like dead ends. And your thoughts set the direction of your life. They either keep you parked in pain or they take you toward progress. Life is full of things you can't control, but your mindset is the one thing that's always in your hands. And the direction you choose mentally is the direction your reality begins to follow. A lot of people wait for circumstances to improve before changing how they think. They believe if they just get the job, if the relationship heals, if the pressure lets up, then they'll start being positive. But it's the other way around. The mindset shift has to come first. You have to think differently before things get different. When you start thinking forward, even when you feel stuck, you begin to create momentum in your life. That doesn't mean you ignore the pain or act like everything's perfect. It means you allow your thoughts to be shaped by possibility instead of defeat. You feed your mind with progress. You remind yourself that this moment is not forever. That no matter how bad it is now, you can still move in the direction of better. When your mindset is right, you don't get paralyzed by obstacles. You look at a wall and ask, how can I get over it? Instead of saying, why is it here? That small difference in thinking changes how you deal with struggle. A forward mindset doesn't wait to feel motivated. It acts with intention. It doesn't need the road to be easy. It just needs to believe that moving forward is still possible. You might fall down, you might get pushed back, but if your mind is committed to forward thinking, you'll always find a way to rise. Your progress becomes a habit, not because everything goes your way, but because your mindset refuses to stay still in a place that's meant to be temporary. It's easy to be positive when life is good, but the real power is staying mentally strong when life is falling apart. That's when mindset becomes more than just thoughts. It becomes your survival tool. When your mind is anchored in purpose, focused on growth and committed to the bigger picture, the storms don't break you, they shape you. You start thinking like a builder, like someone who isn't waiting for life to get better, but is working daily to make it better from the inside out. You become more aware of your inner voice. You notice the thoughts that pull you backward and you challenge them. You become intentional with what you allow in your head because you know your mindset is the engine that drives every part of your journey. You start focusing less on what you've lost and more on what you're building. You begin to see setbacks as setups, problems as teachers, and struggle as part of the path, not a sign to quit, but a signal to keep adjusting and keep moving. A forward-thinking mindset doesn't guarantee comfort, but it guarantees movement. It keeps you from becoming emotionally stuck. It teaches you that growth often starts where your comfort zone ends. And when you think forward, you walk through life with a sense of purpose, no matter how uncertain the path may seem. The road isn't always clear, but with the right mindset, you trust yourself to keep steering, to keep shifting, and to keep driving towards something better. Faith doesn't mean you won't fall. It means you believe in rising again and again. So many people misunderstand faith and what it really represents in the middle of life's trials. They think that having faith means everything will go smoothly, that pain will be avoided, that if you believe hard enough, trouble will pass over you like a wave that never touches your feet. But real faith is forged in the fire, not in comfort. It's built in the pit, not the palace. Faith doesn't promise you a life without falls. It promises that every time you fall, you'll get up with something stronger inside you. You fall with fear, but you rise with strength. You fall with questions, but you rise with understanding. Faith is the belief that no matter how bad today looks, there's still a reason to wake up tomorrow and keep going. When you live with faith, you stop measuring your life by your failures. You start measuring it by your comebacks. Because falling is part of the journey. Everyone falls. Everyone stumbles. The difference between those who grow and those who give up is faith. Faith speaks in silence. It whispers to you in the dark and says you're not finished. It doesn't erase the storm, but it reminds you that you're not walking through it alone. Even when nothing makes sense, even when your plans are shattered and your strength is gone, faith gives you a reason to try again. And that's what rising is really about. Not perfection, not winning all the time, but the quiet, stubborn courage to keep showing up for your life. People often think that having faith means they're supposed to be fearless, but even the strongest people feel fear. What faith does is give you something deeper than fear to hold on to. It gives you a reason to keep moving even if you're shaking. It's the belief that this valley you're walking through has another side, that even though the mountain is high, your climb is not in vain. You start to believe that your scars are not signs of weakness, but of survival. You start to see that every fall taught you something your victories never could. Faith is what makes you turn your pain into purpose. It's what makes you speak life when all you feel is brokenness. Having faith doesn't mean you'll always know what's next. It means trusting that even without all the answers, you're still being led somewhere meaningful. It's walking through uncertainty with a steady heart. It's deciding that quitting is not an option, not because the path is easy, but because the calling on your life is too important. Faith reminds you that this chapter may be hard, but it's not the whole book. There's still more to write. There's still doors that haven't opened. There's still people who will walk into your life and change it for the better. There are still breakthroughs coming, healing coming, peace coming. And all you need to do is keep rising every time life knocks you down. Sometimes faith is loud, it's shouting, praising, declaring. But more often, it's quiet. It's a decision to put one foot in front of the other when everything in you wants to give up. It's the decision to be kind when you feel bitter, to love when you feel lost, to believe when you've been broken. That's the real test of faith. Not what you say you believe, but how you live when life doesn't go your way. Falling is human. Rising is faithful. Each time you get up, you prove that your story isn't over. You prove that your heart still beats with hope. You prove that whatever you've been through, it hasn't taken away your ability to fight. Faith doesn't remove the fall. It gives you the strength to rise from it and walk again with purpose. Joy isn't the absence of pain. It's the refusal to surrender to it. People often confuse joy with comfort, assuming that you can only feel joyful when everything in life is going smoothly. But the truth is, life rarely gives you that perfect stretch where nothing is going wrong. There's always something that could hurt, disappoint, or discourage you. If joy depended on a pain-free life, most of us would never experience it. But real joy lives in a different space. It lives in your decision to not let the pain dictate who you are or how you live. Joy is a rebellion against despair. It's standing in the storm with your heart open and your spirit unbroken. It's choosing to see the beauty, however small, in the middle of the mess. Joy is a mindset. It's not forced smiles or fake positivity. It's the deep, quiet strength that says, even though I'm hurting, I still have something to live for. Pain can touch your life, but it doesn't have to own it. You don't have to wait for everything to heal before you feel joy. You can hold space for both, the sadness that life brings and the joy that you choose to keep. That's not weakness. That's emotional strength. That's maturity. It means you've stopped waiting for joy to arrive and you've started building it where you are with what you have, even if what you have